We're live.
Hey, how are you? Welcome to the Friendship News Hour presented to you by Bummer Dude Media. Today is July 11th, 2023. My name is Frank. His name is Alex. 7-Eleven Day. How about that?
Ooh, free Slurpee Day. I didn't even think
Go
about
get
that.
those free Slurpees. They have a
Yeah,
whole bunch of deals, actually.
a whole bunch of deals. Are we talking
All
like
kinds of stuff for 7-Eleven Day.
so meat tornadoes are on the table?
All that.
Oh, dude. In
All
my
that.
youth.
When was the last time you had a 7-Eleven hot dog?
It's been a minute. I was just gonna say, in my youth, man, we used to live in Roosevelt. I think you were there a couple times, but at our
Mhm.
house that was right by University of Toledo, we lived right by a 7-Eleven, and I would frequent like
7-Eleven on Bancroft.
on Bancroft. Yeah, you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. But dude, the
Oh, yeah.
tornadoes, like the meat twisters and all that shit, the hot dogs. I used to buy like the burritos, like the red hot burritos, and you microwave those, and it was always a bad time afterwards. That food is of the worst quality.
They had a decent sausage biscuit.
Okay. Ugh,
Yeah,
I'm
decent sausage biscuit. I used to get that before work a lot.
yeah, yeah. Not a big sausage
Yeah, but
fan.
anywho,
What
um,
I did just find out about you, I honestly never knew that, is that you're also a musical fan. You just told me that right before we went live.
man, I went to a performing arts middle school, more
Mm,
of necessity than anything.
okay.
It was literally down the hill from our house, and my brother was super into like drama and musicals and things like that, and so I kind of just followed in his footsteps and did the things that he did, and grew an affination. Affination. I grew to like
Affogato?
musicals.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, I performed in a play once,
Did you
a
really?
Shakespeare, Midsummer Night's Dream,
Who were you?
Demetrius.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
I loved it, man. I loved it. I wish it was something that my parents fostered because it was something I really enjoyed doing. I thought I was good at it.
Yeah. Like just musicals and acting in general?
Yeah, just like I definitely not musicals. I do not have the voice or
That's what I
the
was gonna
feet.
ask. Okay, I was saying I didn't know you could sing like that. Okay.
No, I
No.
cannot, dude. I absolutely cannot. I think I can. In the
But
car, I can.
but
I'm a
drama.
fucking star in the vehicle.
But like you would have liked to like act in plays and you're a man of the theater. You
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, dude.
I never did
It's a
it.
great
Never
time
did
at
it.
production.
Yeah, I could see
Yeah,
that. I could see that.
yeah, good time indeed.
What is your favorite musical?
Mm, favorite musical. I don't know that I have a favorite musical. I'm not in it like that, where like I have like this favorite thing.
Hmm.
Um, I've only seen a few off-Broadway musicals, and I saw Hamilton. It was good.
Yeah.
Mamma Mia was a blast.
Someone's told me that before. I've never seen it.
Mamma Mia was fun, dude. It was fun.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you might think it might be lame, but it's just like 2 hours of ABBA songs. It's fantastic.
Hmm.
You have a great time.
I do like ABBA songs, so that would work. I'd have to say my favorite definitely is it's Man of La Mancha, the one about Don
Say
Quixote.
again.
Man of La Mancha
Oh, okay,
about
okay,
Don
right
Quixote
on.
and that older man slipping into madness. Love,
Yeah,
love, love that story. Hamilton was good. Like the first time I saw it, I know people that go and see it again and like are obsessed with it. I don't think it's like to that level in my opinion. I think it's just like okay, that was good. It's unique. Um, it's a little corny with with the white rappers. It's like a little bit much after so long, but I like that a lot. I love we were just singing to each other right before we started. I love the Sound of Music too, man. That
Sound Music, great,
great musical.
great.
Oh,
Love it.
oh,
Sound of Music's good.
oh.
Oklahoma.
Never seen that. What about Joseph?
No,
Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Joseph in the Technicolor suit.
Yeah, great,
Yeah,
great
yeah,
musical. Donny Osmond. Oh,
man. Yeah, I could go for days.
me too. Yeah, I
Um,
never knew that you were a musical guy. That kind of surprises me a little bit to be honest with you, but I'm happy about to hear it.
Literally, same for you. I would never think at one time that you would. I would think like it's in the same vein as like country music for you, or it's just
Yeah,
like, eh.
right. I
Whatever.
my aunt was a drama teacher up in Detroit.
Oh,
So growing up, we went every year to her musical like production that she
oh,
did,
nice.
and then at the same time, I was like obsessed with Man of La Mancha when I was a kid, like the movie that came out in like the '70s.
Uh-huh.
I was obsessed with it, bro. So I think that's where it stems from, is like kind of from there, and then it just kind of branched off to different musicals from that way forward. And then like Sarah's mom's really into them, and she gets like the many years she's gotten like the theater pass where you can go to like
Oh,
all
nice.
6, 7 productions they do throughout the year at certain theaters or whatever. So just keep on going and keep on finding ones that I love. So
There are numerous. I think now that I'm thinking about it, I think West Side Story might be my favorite.
I've never seen it live. Like I've seen the movie, but I've never seen. Yeah, I'd love to see that production. I've heard it's great.
Fiddle on the Roof. I thought that was my grandma's favorite.
Ooh, okay, yeah.
Fiddle on the Roof was good.
Get a little bye bye birdie.
Sweeney Todd,
That's a great movie.
Demon
Never
Barber
seen
of
it
Fleet
live.
Street.
Yes.
Yeah, I've only seen the movie.
Oh, Johnny Depp kills that though. God, what
It's
range,
pretty
man?
good.
What fucking range?
Correct.
I've been starting
Correct.
to like really appreciate actors with range more and more, man. It's such a hard thing to do, and there's so many actors that I think like just fall into like that typecast and like do it well, but then you have the people that like really set themselves apart that are able to do whatever the fuck they're asked to do, basically. You know, guys like Christian Bale,
Mhm.
guys like Johnny Depp, Denzel Washington. They're not playing one character all the time. It's they're I've seen them. I feel like as 50 different things each.
Yeah.
it,
Um,
I don't know, the ability
yeah.
to take yourself outside of you or what you know or what you've learned. Like, oh, this one character I know, and then like portray it so well, so many different ways is
Yeah.
it's a
I
little
think the best at
scary.
that is Daniel Day Lewis.
Oh yeah, for sure, for
Daniel Day
sure.
Lewis is a magician.
Yeah.
He's really good.
Yeah, I feel like
There
I
will
haven't
be
heard much
blood.
from him lately.
Oh, I think he's done.
Is he done? Okay, yeah, I was gonna
I
say
think
I
he's
haven't heard
retired.
much since There Will Be Blood, honestly.
He did Lincoln,
Yeah, really good. Gangs of New York.
Gangs of New York. Oh,
Him and Leo. Great movie. Is that Scorsese?
Gangs of New York. Yep,
Ha! Look at that
a
film knowledge.
Scorsese.
Look at
Let's
that.
see. Let's see what Mr. Day Lewis has been up to. You know who's really good too is Billy Bob Thornton.
He is.
I feel
He
like he
is. But
doesn't
he
get. I feel
plays
like he
like
doesn't get enough credit.
he plays like the same drunk asshole a lot.
He does do that very well.
And he's great at it.
He
But
does do it very well.
he
Phantom Thread. It looks like that was Daniel Day Lewis's last movie.
Phantom
Maybe not
Thread.
his last ever, but the last one that he did. It was
Okay.
Lincoln and then Phantom Thread.
Dude, what I'm super excited for, and I didn't even know they were making this movie. I just saw it, a commercial for it yesterday. It comes out right around my birthday, right on Thanksgiving. They're making a Napoleon movie, and
Oh yeah, with what's his name? With
with Joaquin Phoenix as
Joaquin
Napoleon
Phoenix as Napoleon.
and
Yeah.
Ridley Scott, the guy who did Gladiator, Alien, The Martian, like so many different really good movies. He's gonna direct it, so I'm excited for that, dude. That's gonna be an epic movie. I feel like.
Napoleon Bonaparte.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
fantastic.
yeah. So look for that.
Do you know
Very
anything
excited.
about Napoleon?
I know he was a small man that kind of fell into power and became
Oh man,
obsessed
with a
with.
big swinging hog.
No,
I,
but
I literally I know nothing about Napoleon. He went to war a lot. That's literally all I know about Napoleon.
yeah, he fell into power, but once he fell into power, like I know he made a bunch of like great decisions on the battlefield and helped extend like I think it was France, right? Their empire like
Yeah,
to huge lengths, like bigger than it ever was before. Um, I can't remember his girlfriend. His girlfriend wasn't Marie Antoinette, was it? I don't know. Honestly, I'm speaking out of my ass there, but
you're asking the wrong fella.
Josephine. Her name was Josephine. But I yeah, I don't know a shit ton about him. I know he became king of France. He like took the throne.
Emperor.
emperor. Yeah, but
First emperor of France, it says.
interesting. Okay, I just know that anyone that tries to conquer the world is a bad person at some point. They start to lose their mind or whatever that is. So
I
that
think I know that I think he tried to go into Russia.
mm,
I
okay.
keep I keep hearing this over and over when I like listen about like World War II stuff about Hitler going into Russia, and that was like his downfall. And I think like the same thing did Napoleon in because he tried to go into Russia from the east, or excuse me, from the west. And yeah, here we go. He invaded Russia in 1812, and it was a colossal failure. I think because it got cold in the winter, and all his troops were just like, yeah, and had no will to fight.
Like fuck
I
you.
am excited about that though, because Joaquin Phoenix is another one of those actors that can just go. Just give him a script, he can just go. You can just make it his own.
It's
It looked like I saw a little excerpt of it, and I thought it was from The Gladiator
yeah. It kind of
because he
looks
was
like
like
it.
putting on the crown, and he had like this face on him, like he was about to climax, and you know what I mean, like he was just like the power.
Yeah, dude, I never knew this. He died. Before he died, he got exiled from France, and he went to
Oh no,
like
kidding.
live on like an island, and he died of just like a stomach ulcer, just some basics. Yeah, I would think like Napoleon died in battle. I don't know why. I just always would have thought.
Right,
But interesting, died of a stomach ulcer at 51. It's a pretty long life for back then. It's pretty good.
51.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
1800s, that's pretty good. Early 1800s. Interesting. All right. Well, we didn't
Well,
come
let's
here to
get on
talk
with the
about.
show.
Yeah. All right. I love when we get sidetracked. We get sidetracked very easily sometimes.
Oh yeah, a lot of things, a lot of little tidbits today, and let's start here with the question that we posed to
Yeah.
our listening live audience. Generally speaking, do you think that married couples who have children and who feel like they have major irreconcilable differences should stay married or get divorced?
My answer is
Irreconcilable.
get divorced for sure.
Uh, to get divorced,
Yes, absolutely.
42% of Americans that were surveyed agree with you that they should get divorced. 25% think they should stay married, and 33% are not sure. I'm kind of in that not sure category, I think. I don't know.
Hmm.
It's a tough thing. It's a tough thing.
All
Every
I,
marriage is different, obviously.
for
And
sure.
if you're not in a good place with your spouse, and you're allowing that to spill over into day-to-day life, then that's definitely not good for the kids. Alternatively, divorce is not good for kids either. So I would say if you take a hard line stance on it, you should probably stay married and give it up to like the kids, right? Like make it so that your differences in your marriage are not bigger than a intact family for your children.
I couldn't disagree
And
more.
then I guess if you want to like give in a little bit, then when the kids are grown and out of the house, you guys can think about it then. But even then like that, then what was the point, right?
Yeah, I couldn't disagree more, Frank. I think all that
All
does
right.
is as much as the intentions are good, um, it just would breed a hostile environment at some point, and that's bad for the kids anyway. Whereas if the parents can separate, find happiness either being by themselves, perhaps with another partner down the road, you know, the parent is happy, which allows them to be a good parent to the kid. That's how I feel. Like that's what happened to me. Like my parents were thinking about getting divorced when I was in first grade, ended up getting divorced the next year. But they were contemplating like staying together. Like, okay, we'll wait till they're 18 and then get divorced. And it's like that would have just resulted in another 10 years of just like an unhappy household. And, I think that would leak into the kids way more than what ended up happening. And I ended up, expanding my family. My dad remarried. Um, and he had my sister Jasmine, which was one of the best things that ever happened to me just in general. As like a big brother, as like a man to like look after her and kind of be put in charge of like the lead babysitter, which I think has actually helped me like become a relatively good dad or like a contributed to that. Having the two Christmases was always awesome. You always look forward to like the multiple holidays and birthday parties, and I think there's like more good that came from my parents' divorce than bad, and to think of them like together, especially now with how different they are now, but like to think of them trying to stay together and keep trying to make that whole ship work. I think it would have been to the detriment of the kids rather than for the benefit of me and my brother.
You're probably not wrong, but I think that speaks to a greater idea that has permeated the American psyche, which is that your happiness as an individual is more important, um, or more beneficial to your loved ones than is the structure of a family or the vows that you make when you get married. And I'm not saying that your situation didn't turn out good or there weren't positives
Sure.
about your situation. Um, my parents are divorced. I couldn't think of them together ever. Like it's just is what it is what it is. But just having that mindset that like divorce is not only an option, but the best option. I think that kind of leaves us where we're at now, and that is the sixth highest divorce rate in the world, with between 40 to 50% of married couples filing for divorce every year.
Hmm.
The United States Census Bureau suggests that marriage and divorce rates dropped from 2009 to 2019. Usually second or third marriages in the United States have a higher divorce rate. So just even saying that sentence, second or third marriages, is wild to me. Couples go through their first divorce around the age of 30. Black women divorce at a higher rate, 38.9%, than women of any other race. Military divorce rate is 3% on average. Thought it would be much higher than
I thought it'd be way higher. Yeah, I would have
that.
thought
3%.
those ladies at the base camps be fucking. Same with the soldiers.
You do
Like,
hear a lot of those stories, right? About like
I swear,
just a
bro.
whole bunch of infidelity and just weird
Yeah,
shit going on with military
yeah.
marriages.
Oh yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So
All
in
I'll say is
2020,
I 100% agree that like the best way to like raise a kid is with the family, but you like and like you could be looked at as selfish to say like I want to put my happiness over my marriage or whatever, but I don't see how you can like foster a youth or like give them all like as much love as you can and teach them how to be like truly happy in their life if you're not somewhat there yourself. I feel like that miserableness will just
right.
pass down to them one way or the other. So it's like healthier. Obviously, you should try to like save your marriage because like it would be better. Like it is probably better for people to stay together than get divorced. But like if you're just not compatible, I think that leads to a lot of other worse shit. But like you definitely should try to like save that marriage, counseling, and do everything you can. But if you get to that point where it's like this is not salvageable, we're fucking miserable. Let's just let's call it as it is. I think that's for the best.
Yeah. There's truth to all that. I think the thing that gets me is that I think I don't know if this is like a traditionalist view of marriage or if this is something that is not it's not like prevalent in today's society. But when you get married, it's like, yeah, like you're taking the step, but you're literally saying like my life is no longer my life, and your life is no longer your life, and we are now a life. We are one and the same. There is no me without you, and vice versa. And I don't even know that we view marriage like that anymore. I'm not speaking for you,
Yeah, I don't view it that way
well, it's okay. So that's interesting because
as a married man.
Right. So that's interesting because I think that that's to me the only definition of marriage, right? Like if not, then what else is the point other than for tax reasons,
The
right?
idea is to be a team, but it's not to lose your self identity. That's how you got to where you are in the first place, and that's what makes your relationship so strong. Is that each of you are individual, unique. You have your own likes and interests, and you bring different things to the table. Like you don't just become one when you're married, and then all that fades because you are team this and your team Kenzie and team Huerta. Like that, what you who you are and how you got there shouldn't disappear just because you said I do. That's what makes
Oh,
you
I'm
great.
not
That's what
saying that
makes
it
our
does.
country great is the differences in our country. Like that has to continue afterwards. You can't just obviously you got to approach things as a team. Like that's the best way to accomplish anything, but the way you're describing it sounds like you lose your identity, you lose your self happiness and worth kind of, and I don't think that would lead to a good marriage at all.
Well, I'm not saying that you lose your self identity or you stop um, being you.
Mm,
What I'm saying is that when you get married, in my humble opinion, you're no longer living for yourself.
right, for sure.
You're
Yeah.
now you're now living for your family, for your last name,
Uh-huh.
right? So when you go into situations, it's not about me. It's not about my happiness. It's about what is it that I'm doing for my family? What is it that the sacrifices I think are baked into the pie when you get married? Because I do think that you do, die to yourself a little bit and you say, okay, I am putting that person that I was aside, and I'm now giving myself to this person for the purpose of being a family. And maybe you're like still the same guy, but you're also not doing the things that you were doing before because you're making sacrifices because you're now a family. You're now one unit.
Right.
And I think that when we talk about divorce, I think we're very like we very easily can say or skip over that part. We can say that's not the case anymore. I'm doing this for me. When we forget why we got into it in the first place. And I'm speaking very ignorantly here because I am not married yet. Um, but when I see divorce rates this high, and I got to imagine that that idea of a marriage doesn't really exist. It doesn't permeate through society, and it's not taken that seriously because we can just so flippantly say, "Yeah, we're gonna end it," and then we're
For
gonna say
sure.
it's
Yeah.
because of our individual differences that we can't reconcile. When in the first place, those didn't matter because that's why you get married because those don't matter. That's just. Um, who do you think files for divorce more, men or women?
Women.
Yeah,
Gotta be. Because
from
I'm
by a tune of like 3 to 1.
yeah, I would guess because I think men are quicker to cheat, which I think would cause a lot of divorces and
Mm.
uh women being maybe like a little bit more emotional are probably quicker to say fuck this, fuck you, I'm done with this. Coming for half your money, bitch. I could just I think that'd be I could definitely see how that would happen.
Yeah, that's interesting. Some interesting racial statistics
Okay.
about marriage. Um, the lowest rate of divorce by ethnicity is Asians, 12.4%.
Hmm.
Next up is white folks at 15.1%, Hispanics at 18.5%, and then black folks at 30.8%.
That's
Black
yeah.
divorce rate is the highest among other races at 30.8%.
It's interesting, man.
Um,
I can say none of my black friends like we talk about marriage quite often, and I usually kind of get made fun of for being married.
oh,
They don't.
really?
Yeah, they. And this is a generalization. I'm not speaking for all black people. I'm just the people that I'm familiar with and fraternize with. Like they, yeah, they just don't see why you would, you know, stop living the life or the fast life or doing whatever the fuck you want to do, and like adhere to one person and their rules, and they're, splitting money with them, or taking on like their debts. That's a lot of things that have come up a lot, is like, she is so in debt from school. Why the fuck would we want to start our marriage and then both go 100 grand in the hole or 50 grand in the hole? Um, but yeah, like a lot of my friends that I've talked to about it, like, just aren't into the idea. Kind of like make fun of me for a one woman system.
Well, the statistics back that up. Black adults also make up the largest share of the never married group. Notably, 79% of 25 to 29-year-old Black women were never married as of 2016.
Hmm.
That's still pretty young, but not really. 25 to 29, that's like prime getting married years.
Yeah, yeah. Because I was
So
surprised when you said that, like, the highest divorce or the first divorce was at 30. I feel like none of my friends are even getting married. I mean, I had a few friends get married. Like, Pat got married when he was 21, and I'm sure there's a lot of those marriages that would just happen too early, too fresh out of college, high school, where I guess, yeah, by the time you get to 30, it's like, fuck this. But I feel like most people I know aren't even getting married till like right now, like at 30.
sure.
That's
Well,
crazy.
those are averages. So
True. Yeah. True.
I'm not really sure how that even works out. But um, here's the top 5 occupations with the highest divorce rate, starting with gaming and casino managers. 53% of those
Really?
folks get married, get divorced. Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder why.
Bartenders, 52.7%. Flight attendants,
Hmm.
50.5%. Um, Jacqueline turned me on to this person that like kind of gives an inside look at a flight attendant's day to day,
Yeah.
and like how often they're messing around with their partners. I'm going, obviously, especially if you're going international. If you're just
Yeah.
flying all over the world and you're not at home,
You
you're
got
meeting
hoes
up
in
with
different area
strangers, and
codes. Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
And it's a
I'm sure
probably
that
it's
barrier goes down quick.
a lot of times it's like the same paths. Like my buddy Jeff, he's attendant for United, and he like has like the same route, and he kind of goes all over the world, but like within some kind of like a normal tempo. So like he has like friends in Paris, he's got friends, up in wherever they go in Canada and out in California. Like he kind of just has like little communities from like the places he frequents when he flies. So I could definitely see how you could get, your hoe here, your hoe here, just kind of hoes in different area codes,
Mm-hmm.
man.
You bet. Um,
But
there's so many
casinos
statistics here.
floor, I don't get the casino one. That's great. Like the first two you said, I would never think would be high on that list.
Yeah, gaming and casino managers, and then gaming service workers
Well, maybe
are
they're
both
just
in the top
seeing.
5.
You think they're just seeing so many hookers at casinos that they're just like tempted often?
I don't know. Maybe it's the hours they work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a high stress, like high adrenaline work atmosphere.
Yeah.
Someone's always watching you. I mean, maybe it's just like the stress that comes with that job.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. Switchboard operators are in the top 10. Uh, Textile knitting operators. I don't know. This is odd.
So okay, so in the long run, though, would you say that you benefited or suffered from your parents' divorce?
Suffered greatly.
You think so?
Oh yeah, it's rough. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. Obviously I can't say that it would have been better had they not gotten divorced. Um,
But like you turned out great. Like you got a good head on your shoulders, and like I think some of that comes from what happened in your past for sure. Like you could have turned out much differently from some of the stuff you described to me from your childhood. Like that could have affected you at a way deeper level than like what,
yeah.
how you turned out, which is a fantastic young man. Very good looking too.
Well, thank you. Uh, thank you. It's interesting. It goes back to a question that I always ponder, and that is, if I'm striving for a better life for myself and my family, and I achieve that, how much strife or how much struggle do I purposefully put my child through, or children, it happens to be, because I do agree with you that I think what I had went through obviously shaped who I am today. And I think it was overall a benefit. And that's, that's a testament to my mindset, and also the fundamental upbringing that I was able to have, through my grandma and, through my mom, and the not so negative things, about my upbringing, were all in all positive. I would say that I appreciate what I had and what I had to go through. But I also remember when my parents weren't divorced and how happy that was and how cool that was, and all the attention that I got from my dad, and, like the fact that they were together and we were, grilling out in the backyard and playing catch, and just, all the things that you want
Don't those memories
from
feel so
a family.
fleeting now? Because I have the same ones. Like, my
Oh,
parents got
yeah.
divorced when I was in second grade, but it's like I have vivid, distinct memories of certain Christmases all together and family vacations, and yeah, man, it definitely, you got warm feelings. It's awesome, but I don't know if those would have continued through my life if they stayed together, just because of how different they were, and how, like, it wasn't even like a toxic relationship between them. I would say it just, I don't see how they could have stayed together. So I don't know. And now I have those warm feelings, like with what happened from afterwards. Like, my dad remarried a black woman that, like, opened the fuck out of my worldview. I had so many different cultural influences, music influences, and like that. That I'm so happy that it happened. Literally, if not for just that reason and my sister, because it's just like that changed who I was, dude. I would have just
Sure.
turned out to be this corny white dude from Ohio burbs, bro. And now I'm just a little bit less corny white
Basically
dude.
what it is.
Yeah.
So all in all, it's a wash.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough, dude. It's tough because I can't like speak to my parents' situation and say that they should have stayed together, but
hmm
they should have. Like they should have. The and I'm not saying it's any one person's fault that they didn't. Um, the way it happened is the way that it had to happen because that's how it happened. But um, I'm appreciative of that because it took my view of marriage and it shaped that as well.
True. Yeah. You can
Where it's not about, like, to me, it's never been about the things that my parents got divorced for. It's always been the opposite, right? The understanding that it's a struggle, but understanding that um, it's a commitment. It's a vow. It's not just like it's not just like saying I'm going to be your wife or your husband, but it's literally saying I'm giving myself to you. And I've not done that with any other person. And I'm giving myself to you for life. And that means that everything that happens between now and when we pass away, I'm telling you that I'm going to be there for you and with you by your side, no matter what. And divorce for me is almost not even an option, like ever. Like to me, it doesn't ever make sense because, like, even the idea of irreconcilable differences, it's like, no, that's not true.
But, like, and not that you would do this, but like, if you found out in 15 years that, like, your wife was cheating on you with two men or three, like whatever it was, like,
Right.
you would find a way, like, that wouldn't fuck with you at all. Like, you would find a way to swallow that and get through that and stay together. Like, you don't see any scenario where you'd be like, okay, this isn't making Frank happy anymore. And
But see, it's not about my happiness, and it's never going to be about my happiness. If that
yeah,
situation were to occur, then it's like, okay, well, do you want to be with those people that you're choosing to be intimate with? And if the answer is yes, then fine. This was never true in the first place, and that's going to hurt deeply. But that's fine,
yeah,
right? Like
right.
then this was never this was. But it's not about because I'm happy or not unhappy. It's because this vow that we made was never true. And if there were some things that were going on in our relationship that caused that to happen, or caused her to go seek affection intimacy or attention from somebody else. That to me doesn't say that like, oh, okay, now it's automatically done, just because this thing happened in your relationship. Yeah, is it a breach of trust and confidence? And like, would it be like almost impossible to get back to the point that we were previously? Yes, but it doesn't change the fact that a lifetime vow was made, and it comes with everything. It comes with everything. And so you need to be, if you're going to make that commitment, then you need to be ready to weather everything. And also make sure you're going to marry somebody that you know is not going to do that to you. That to me is like the simplest thing. And I feel like people don't ever take into account the fact that their choice of partner is on them. Okay, to put it this way, and this isn't always the case, but if I found out in 20 years that my wife has been sleeping around on me, I can promise you that's never going to happen. But I would say that for the majority of people that does happen with, they could have saw that coming, and they could have saw that coming before they got married.
Yeah, most likely. But it's funny you say like the learning from your situation, because it was the same going into our marriage. Like it's always been a focal point of like we were going to do whatever we can to stay together, just from what how I've realized like what the family unit means, and like we want it. That is so valuable to us that it's like we have to stay together. But honestly, I'm glad it happened to me, because I grew so much as a person and learned so much, and both my parents are far happier now than they would have been. So it's a sticky wicket.
Yeah, you learn what not to do. You learn kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum of how to be. And unfortunately or fortunately, whatever way you slice it, those lessons are valuable, and it's good to hear that you're taking them to heart. I think that's a good way to go about it.
Yeah.
Let's see. A few months ago, we talked about El Salvador. You remember?
No.
They locked up like, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of people.
Yeah.
That were gang members. They just rounded them all up, put them in prison.
Yeah.
So the country of El Salvador was known for having the world's highest murder rate. And now they have the world's highest incarceration rate.
Mm-hmm.
On the surface, doesn't that make sense?
You would think so. Yeah. Isn't that kind of what they saw with Stop and Frisk too? As racist as the tendencies were, they actually worked. Which is
right. That's so the strategy has helped lower the homicides in El Salvador by 92% compared with 2015, giving the president of El Salvador the support of 9 of every 10 Salvadorians. The number of Salvadorians illegally crossing the U.S.-Mexico border has also dropped by 44%. And this is the result of putting 68,000 people in prison in a country the size of Massachusetts. It's about 1% of their population that's behind bars right now, which is wild.
Wow. There's
allegations of prisoner mistreatment, and the president, I think his name is Bukele. I don't know how you pronounce that. Bukele, Bukele. Nayib Bukele. During a cabinet meeting in October, he said, yes, they'll have human rights, but the human rights of honest people are more important. Wow, interesting. So that raises the obvious question. Why aren't we doing that in the United States?
Yeah. Man.
Right. If you knew that there was a particular portion of the United States that had like any country, no matter how safe it is going to have a murder capital, right? Just this place has the most murders. But is that 2 to 3 murders a year? Or is that like 600 to 800 murders a year? Right? That's a lot of murders. So
do you know how they went about
places, yeah, they found everybody with a tattoo and they locked them up.
Okay, so it was literally
literally what they did, because everybody in the MS-13 gangs will identify themselves with tattoos, usually like facial tattoos. Now, I'm not saying going around America and arresting everybody with a tattoo. Yeah. These are like pretty specific tattoos. But that's how they did
Interesting.
it. So yeah, that's, I think it gets into a very controversial conversation very quickly. You can see how this goes, right?
Yeah. Right.
Because where are the highest murder capitals in the United States? Chicago,
Yeah.
Baltimore, Minnesota. And the concentration of these areas, particularly where the murder happens, predominantly black people. Predominantly black people. I'm not saying that we go in and we arrest every black person. Truly, that's not what I'm saying. But it would make sense that if you had a place that had the highest rate of murder, that place should also be coincided with the highest rate of incarceration.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and I'd love to hear where that logic is flawed. It probably is somewhere. And I think it's, fortunately or unfortunately, however whatever your viewpoint is that these conversations now need to be talked through from a racial lens. We're saying, okay, yeah, maybe there's a ton of murder happening here, but what is that doing, or why is that the result of this racial thing or that racial thing? And so I don't ever see this happening in the United States, because it would be too much of a lightning rod from a racial standpoint. Because if you did that, then just by nature of crime statistics, which we all know that the crime statistics, especially in places where the murder rate is so high, or they tend to trend towards African Americans. So if you have that conversation, that's where it has to go. I don't know. Nobody else is given a blueprint, right? Like, we all talk about which way it should go, or it's the result of, racial policies from tens or hundreds of years ago, and this is the result of that, right? But my question is, where do we go from there? Because it's untenable. There was a gentleman by the name of Nasrat Ahmad. He's a Lyft driver in the DC area. And he was giving 3 teenagers a ride back from wherever. And these teenagers tried to rob him. And as they tried to rob him, he tried to resist. They shot him and he died. 3 black teenagers who shot this guy, who was I think he was a translator in Afghanistan. And he fled Afghanistan when Afghanistan fell last year, came to the United States, and then gets shot in the suburbs of DC. And that juxtaposition, I cannot wrap my mind around that. Like, that is just so unacceptable. And that is, we can't be saying on one end that we want to be this bastion of refuge for those who want it, and then allow for a culture that can just so flippantly kill this person at the same time. And I think this all ties into what's happening in France right now.
They're dealing with kind of their own George Floyd situation.
It's their own George Floyd situation, and it has a lot to do with immigrants, particularly from North Africa. Douglas Murray in The Spectator has an article about this, and I'll read a little bit from this article. He says that last week we learned that a woman in a park in Skegness, this is in the UK, was dragged into the bushes and raped by a 33-year-old male. The man had arrived in the UK illegally on a small boat just 40 days earlier. Strangely, I cannot find any anger about this. The story was reported in a couple of papers, but there was no fulminating editorials or emergency questions in the House. And he goes on to say that in France, there's a body of a girl named Lola Dabiet, who was 12 years old, found in a travel trunk in Paris. She had been sexually assaulted, asphyxiated, stabbed, and mutilated. The person arrested for her killing was a woman of 24 from Algiers, who was in France illegally and living with the expulsion order. And while there was political anger around the killing, nothing happened. Then, when this man who got killed that caused all these riots, unjustifiably gets killed and causes these riots in France, it's just this big giant firestorm. And Douglas Murray in this article is saying that France is not the problem. It's not racist policies or racist police that are the problem. The problem is that these immigrants have come into France and they have not assimilated into France. They have taken their culture and their behavior and their ways. They have brought it to France, and France has resisted that because why wouldn't you? And now you have this inflection point. And I think you could say a lot of the same for America.
I would say, could you liken that to what we have going on with Mexico and the gang culture that's coming up from there, that cartel kind of culture that comes in with illegal immigrants? Like, obviously, there's
absolutely
immigrants that are hardworking folks, but there's also a lot of criminals that cross our borders.
The problem is we don't know. Like the problem is that it would be helpful if we even knew, but we don't, because we let whoever we want in. Right. We are allowing our border to be porous, and then we're upset when folks are saying that, gosh, I mean, that they even want to know what's happening, right? Who is coming across? It's not unfair to say that a portion of the people who are coming from the southern border, and we don't know which portion, a portion of them are bad people and have done bad things. We've covered many times on this show about people who have gotten killed, who shouldn't have gotten killed because the person that killed them was illegally in the United States and had every chance to be deported, and in some cases had been deported multiple times prior to them committing this murder. And so it's an idea that I think is really interesting, right? When you come into a country, I think the expectation should be that you're assimilating into this country and that you're assimilating to the values and the morals and the traditions and the culture that is this country. And instead, what's happening is you're allowing for the mass immigration of not just people but culture to permeate the United States, so that they make it their own or whatever they want, and there's no expectation or no barrier that says you can't do this here. This is how we do things.
That's tough.
And that's tough because the United States was, yes, 100% correct. 100% correct. Wow. Colonials came in and a bunch of immigrants followed and they took over the country. Ben and Jerry's made it very clear on July 4th that this is stolen land, right? So we came in and we said, we are going to implement our morals and traditions in here, and to hell with what you guys had going on in the first place. And so it's really tough, but you can't deny that there is a certain amount of agitation that's going on with the fact that we're allowing in tons of immigrants and we don't know who they are. We're not keeping track of them, and we're failing to, for political reasons, for show reasons, we're failing to say we're going to make this right, and we're going to put in a system that corrects these wrongs, and at least allows us to know and track the folks that are coming into this country who are claiming asylum or are saying that they're fleeing persecution or what have you. Even more so in France, because they have centuries of tradition and centuries of culture. And through what probably are great intentions of allowing refugees and immigrants from war-torn countries to come in and seek a better life in France, there is what seems to be very little responsibility for the assimilation of culture into a place like France. And now you're seeing these riots. I'm not saying that's a good justification for them, but to me, it's kind of, it seems to be what the case is. I don't know. Do you see it? Do you see it differently?
No, no, I agree. I think the point we're at now, man, is we need to do a refocusing of priorities. I think we're stretched too far across the globe in too many geopolitical fucking issues and whatnot, and we need to focus back on America. Like I hesitate to say this, but actually make America great again, because we're falling off in so many categories. Like, while we're still throwing hundreds of millions of dollars at Ukraine and all these other situations around the world, and it's like our education system is so deeply flawed, and that fucks us in so many ways down the road. But like, that money, that attention needs to be focused on education. It could be focused on our borders, tightening them up, making it easier to immigrate into this country if you're doing so legally, and you're a good person. Like, obviously we want to bring good people into this country, so like finding ways to make that easier, because that process is a nightmare for people to try to become citizens. And just like focus on our infrastructure, transportation system. Like, so many things I feel like are just failing here in America just because we're so focused on trying to fuck to Russia or to China, or try to somehow maintain this like strength with hundreds of military bases all around the country or all around the world. And it's like we're failing so many different ways here. I just feel like we need to get that shit right before we're trying to dip our fingers and stir the pot in all these other places, man.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The I think there's like a real, like a concerted effort to force culture, to make culture happen, to to protest for rights, right? And to get so riled up over every single Supreme Court decision or every single law that's passed, or what books are Florida looking at this week? All these little things that we love to fight about. But like you said, wouldn't it be great if we decided that we're going to create a culture that doesn't allow for bridges to fail, that doesn't allow for potholes to show up on every street corner, that fixes the drinking water in places where it needs to be fixed. And these things are the focus, and the focus isn't on whatever topic of the day it happens to be, right? Or that we can say that
like they're all topics,
divisive topics,
a wedge, yeah.
Or even something that's not divisive, like saying, we look at the statistics, and St. Louis, Missouri has the highest murder rate in the United States, any major American city in the United States. That's not acceptable. And that's it. That's not acceptable. And like literally don't take it any further than that. How are we going to fix that?
Yeah.
And come together and fix it. And not take into account so personally what it means for this group or that group or for these people, and not be so bipolar when we're talking about these things, because our focus is not on what matters. Our focus is on what the perception of what we're doing is. Meanwhile, we're allowing the infrastructure for America to crumble, and we're allowing the culture of America to crumble. How can any place that is impoverished thrive when they're leading the country in murders? How can any community thrive when they're losing their community members at a rate that is untenable?
Yeah. So
and people are just living in suffering, and they have no hope, right? But the focus isn't there. And so I think we can take a look at France, like, I think George Floyd was just like I think that was just like a flash in the pan. To be honest with you, I don't think that was anything compared to what's going to happen, particularly when it comes to this 2024 election. I don't think we're prepared at all for the psychological abuse that is going to be thrown at us, because we care so much who the president is. But I guarantee you can't tell me who represents you in Congress right now. Who's the mayor of your town? Who's on your city council? right? Those are the things you have control over, but
Yeah,
you're not
right.
interested in that. And I'm not saying this is your fault. This is 100% probably the fault of the powers that be, because you're so in tune to what is happening on a national level that you think your and all of your emotion and all of your energy needs to go towards that, right? You see a Supreme Court decision and you just think it's the end of the world without looking and saying, oh, you're telling me like more than 70% of Americans agree that affirmative action should be struck down? Because ABC News is telling me that this is a rogue court. You know what I'm saying? Like it's that kind of thing that doesn't it doesn't add up. So it's incumbent on you, the listener, need to take it upon yourself to find out what is happening, because obviously the people that you're supposed to trust have failed you. They're no longer a place that you can turn to. And this is why I hope so much that somebody like RFK Jr. can like break through.
Dude, so
And can take it to the next level.
I was just gonna say this to you. I saw a ticket that I I saw an option, a path forward that I think would be beneficial. I guess it hesitate to say it a little bit, but there's talks because of the treatment that RFK Jr. is getting from his own party right now of a possible Trump RFK ticket to bring the people together, bring the parties together, push forward, and kind of
Wouldn't
get
that
it.
be something?
Dude, I don't see how that ticket loses to, especially to fucking Smokey Joe. But like, I don't see how that ticket loses. And I would love. I think that's such an interesting idea. I don't know how that, if it ever has happened or how it hasn't happened in the near like past or anything. But like, that's an interesting idea to have both parties represented in president and vice president instead of it being, all right, we're all Democrat for 8 years now, we're all Republican. Like just the swinging of the pendulum instead of like the working together of the parties in those two offices. Like man, obviously I see a lot of disagreement that could come from it as well, and maybe some stagnant policy or stagnant just in general on some things of agreements can't be reached, but kind of feel like that's where we're at now. Like usually the president, whoever holds that office, then the other party is pushing hard to go and take over the House, or to win Congress just so they can stall them and slow their policies down. It's not really beneficial for any side. So it's like if we have,
Yeah, so like a true bilateral ticket.
yeah, dude,
Yeah,
I would
that'd
vote
be
for that ticket
incredible.
right now. I no problem saying I would vote for that ticket. I love that idea. I don't know if we'll see it happen, but I love
I
that
doubt
idea.
it, but it sounds almost like too good to be true. But Robert Kennedy Jr. is as much of a shit lib as you can get. I mean, literally, he's got all from I guess like a social perspective, or from a from where he draws his social values from. I don't necessarily agree with any of what he says,
Mm,
but I know where his heart's at, and
right.
I know how he handles problems, and I know what he takes into account when he's thinking through an issue, because I've heard him speak, and I'd vote for him
Yeah.
because he's not an asshole, because he's not lying,
Mm-hmm.
because he's not blowing smoke, he's not
Would you
telling me
would you say the same
what I
about
want
Bernie
to hear.
Sanders? Would you have voted for Bernie Sanders?
No, fuck no.
No.
Bernie Sanders is just as ingrained of a politician as anybody. He's as much you know a part of the institution as like Trump is now. Like Trump is very much ingrained in the swamp that he says he's
Yeah, for
trying to
sure,
drain.
for sure.
And who knows? Maybe Robert Kennedy gets there, and that's what he becomes. I doubt that he even gets there. But I tell you what, he has my vote, and I couldn't ever imagine voting for just some like run of the mill liberal. But that's not who he is. And anybody who wants to speak real truth to power, like real truth to power, has got my vote, and this guy's got it 100%. If he gets a ticket, and he's got momentum. I don't know. Maybe he does something. Maybe he doesn't. But I think his voice is very important, and I think people are listening as much as he's trying to be silenced. I just saw something on Twitter about who was the publication. A lot of folks are trying to discredit RFK Jr. And when I hear that, when I see that gets me interested. Oh, okay. Why are you trying to do that? Because I don't trust you. I don't trust what you're trying to say.
Mm.
If it's mainstream media, everything that comes from the government or from mainstream media, I automatically think is untrue, and I believe the opposite. Um, so anyway, I don't know. I was kind of ranting there,
No, you're
um,
good. You're good.
but I really hope that somebody like that is um, breaks through, because I think more people than are given credit for are ready for a voice like that on both sides. And if you're telling me that they're going to join up on a ticket, I don't think that I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. That's interesting. There's still a lot of never Trumpers out there. Still a lot of people who would, rather move away than vote for Donald Trump. But it'll be interesting.
I just like the idea of a combined party ticket, and right now those make the most sense to me, just with what I'm seeing. But
Yeah.
um, man, I don't know. I really don't know. Have you ever, real quick before we get out of here, I know we're running up against it, but have you ever had the Prime energy drink before?
Never.
Oh, it's pretty good. I liked them a lot when they came out, but bright neon packaging, they catch your eye at the store all the time. Flavors are pretty solid. They're under fire right now, though, as Chuck Schumer has basically called on the FDA to look into them uh, due to like what they're finding is in the drink, which I don't know how this wasn't more known. Like it's this information seems like it'd be easy to get, so I don't know why now they're trying to make this pivot. But the beverage brand was started by YouTube stars Logan Paul and KSI. But what they're
Oh, okay. Yeah,
you know
yeah. I know this one now. Yeah,
okay,
okay,
okay.
for sure.
It's pretty good. It's solid. I drank them for a little while, but like just once I kind of got too tired of the taste or whatever. Because it's a strong. It's not aspartame, but it's like whatever the flavoring, the sweetener is in it. It's just gets to be much. But what they're finding now, I would have had to have been public knowledge. I don't know why it's like under the microscope now, after it's already been FDA approved in the past. But the drink in the 12 ounces contains 200 milligrams of caffeine, which is equal to
That's
six
a
cans of
lot.
Coke or two Red Bulls. So
Jesus Christ.
yeah, what they're complaining about is that obviously since KSI and Logan Paul are behind this, that it's targeted towards the youth more, or at least those people have like the most pull in the youth uh, demographic. And there's two versions. There's one with no caffeine, but there's this one with caffeine, which they're saying can be like super damaging to a young developing brain, body, all that. So they're asking the FDA to step in, and Prime isn't really pushing back. They're saying like we welcome discussions with the FDA, any other organization regarding suggested industry changes that they feel are necessary to protect our customers and consumers. But um, you know, it just bears like the question like should something like this be available? Like should responsible adults be able to pick what the fuck they want to put in their body? I would say yes, but at the same time, it's as just as this isn't like a you must be 18 or 21 to buy kind of a thing like tobacco and alcohol or firearms. This is you can go to the store and buy this at any age. No, easily get it. So like, do you think there should be any kind of restrictions brought in for a caffeine drink? Or do we just gotta let the free
I
market be
don't
the free market?
know. I really don't know what I mean. No, like yeah, like free market, fine. Obviously, you need to have regulations, right? Like Four Loco can't have that much alcohol and caffeine. It's a great decision. I'm
Yeah,
for that
right.
regulation.
Yeah.
I don't know what like a excessive amount of caffeine is and what I have no idea. I have no clue. And it's interesting that Charles Schumer of all people is asking for that. Again, I'm so cynical that if Chuck Schumer is asking for something to be looked at, that probably means that he has a financial interest in a competitor.
Yeah, right. That's
Do I
what
know
more
that?
important.
No, but I'm almost positive that that's the case,
Yeah,
because
for
that's what
sure.
these assholes are about. Why would Chuck Schumer be worried about how much caffeine is going into a drink?
Yeah,
Why the fuck would
right,
he care?
right.
He wouldn't. Sorry,
That's it. Yeah, I
I've
just
never
thought
had
it
one.
was interesting. They're good. Try one. They're decent.
Prime,
Yeah.
Prime energy drink.
Wow. Try them out.
Um, cool. Well, yeah, I do have to get out of here, but good to be back.
Good to be back. I'm gonna
Um,
be camping next week, so be missing us. But I think we got an interview lined up or something, right? We should have something cool.
we might. Yeah, I
Hopefully.
haven't got confirmation, but we'll see.
All right, we'll see. If not, we'll talk to you in a few weeks or something. Figure it out. In the meantime, if you want to reach us, you can find us on Twitter at FriendshipNH. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at Friendship News Hour, some lovely new animations. And you can always send us an email to bummerdude.media@gmail.com. Bummerdude.media@gmail.com. See you next time.
Adios.
Oh, you're good. But oh, hold on. Why is it starting again?